So next, a very natural transition from the talk about relational operators and conditional expressions is to introduce the if-else statement. As you can see, I already used my if statement in this particular little fragment. So to give you an example, that this would be a very expected situation where you want to evaluate a condition to see whether it's true or false, and to use a certain operators inside to construct this condition, and the result is given to an if statement. So if statement has this form where it says expression, and it basically takes some statements. By the way, it is allowable to do this, to not to use braces, simply because if you read the specification for if statement in both C and Java, it's pretty much the same. There is a condition which has to occur in parentheses. It's a requirement. It's part of the syntax, right? So regardless of the fact that you know what the operator precedence is in this case, and you could have said, well, this should be a legal statement, but it's not. This is not a legal syntax. If requires to have a pair of parentheses, which I typically type in pairs, and then I also would seriously discourage people from not using braces, the curly braces which formulate a single statement. Because naturally, if I do something like this, copy and paste some of this deceptively looks like everything that's supposed to happen under this particular condition, specifically when the condition is true. But it's not, because the nature of the if statement that it takes only next statement to consider and to execute it as a result of this condition to be true, right? So because the indentation does not matter for the compiler. So for this reason, this would probably clarify much better to use braces to group even one single statement, to group it with the braces into essentially a quite visible and distinct part of your program, which now belongs to this if statement, right? Also, if has an optional part named else, else clause of the syntax of if. Else is optional. You could see that I was able to compile this code without the need for else to begin with, but then I can say that the result of the evaluation of this condition may be important even if it's not a true outcome. In that case, there's an else which provides an alternative. So if not, then the numbers are not the same, right? So there you go. And actually, I should probably use an equality test to be consistent with what I'm trying to print, right? So I'm saying, let's compare the two numbers. Let's compare the two numbers. Use the comparison operator, which is equality test, and then print if numbers are the same or not, right? So those are two mutually exclusive alternatives. Two mutually exclusive alternatives. It means that if this executes, this will never execute. If this happens to execute, this does not execute. And when I say never, I probably shouldn't have said that, because if it happens in a loop, the outcome of the condition could change every time, and it's just either this or the one or the other which will take place based on the outcome. So this is if true, right? And this is if false. Okay. So if and else are both keywords of the language. That's why naturally they're getting highlighted in our check the time on this. So naturally all the keywords are highlighted, and that kind of makes our the look of our program is sort of like, nice and well readable, I suppose. So if I rerun this program, it prints the message that the numbers are not the same, which is expected. So actually the else was executed because the outcome of this condition clearly is not true. And so we're printed the numbers are not the same. So I don't know, any questions about the if statement at this point?
Yes, I have one.
Sure, go ahead.
Braces, can you have more than one statement following the if statement?
Yes, absolutely. That's right. You can essentially come up with any kind of compound statement like that, and so naturally the entire part of your program can be constructed within your if statement, right? There could be another if statement nested in here. So, I could, I could say, for example, I could say if uh, if 1 equals 1, then I could print something else. Kind of silly example, but it just whatever. I'll just abbreviate this to some kind of ellipsis. But that's an example where I could further construct my program within the body of this if statement and further extend my logic in there. So that's permissible. Yes, question.
Would you be able to do, like, with a if statement, would you be able to say, like, if one was an int or something like that?
Oh, to test the data type?
Yeah.
Yes, you can do that. There are you can do this with objects, and there is an operator that's called the instance of. It can compare the type of object with a particular type. So that's possible. I'm not sure how you would do this with the primitive data types such as integers, characters, doubles. I would typically just consider their size. I can research that and I can answer your question next time. I'm not really I never faced this need in Java, which is completely managed environment, to you know to analyze what data type is the primitive data type that I'm given, because they're very predictable, right? But I can research that for you. Thanks for the question. So, but there is definitely a way to do this with objects through the application of the so-called instance of operator, and it's one word. We will actually discuss it in